Okay, these are the type of comments that make it very hard for people to have any real conversation with each other. Hey, what's up, nerd fam? This is your boy. Okay, today I want to talk to you about something I really just found out today. Apparently, they're making a Velma series, and they've done something very interesting to Velma. Now, my boy actually showed me this. It was like a post on like a group where everybody was commenting on it. Some people didn't dig it because she didn't look like Velma, and some people were like, "Oh, it's great. It's good. We finally need some brown people in it." And I'm going, okay. Let me read about this series first and see what's going on here. Now, apparently, the director is of South Asian descent, Indian, I believe, and she made Velma Indian in the show. Now, people are complaining about that because they're going, she does not look like Velma, which objectively is true. What I found very strange was when I read the reaction of the person who is like running the show. She said something very disingenuous, which is, people, I don't understand. Can people just, I'm paraphrasing, like people just can't see someone smart, nerdy, and Indian? As if people just have a problem with an Indian girl being smart and can solve mysteries. Not that you change a character who visually has looked a certain way for 50 years, and most likely her background, most likely that's going to be a huge part. Because they're talking about in this show, they're going to be fleshing out the character, which means the character's background is most likely going to be changed as well. Because that is what people do now. The what, like what they are, is more important than who they are. What's really dangerous about things like this, comments, is she said that to try and invalidate what some of the complaints are. Because if we're being blunt, she just tried to make the people who complained about the character looking different, she tried to make them sound like racist, as if they're going, oh, she's Indian. We just can't see a smart Indian. That's really messed up. Now, if this show were not a Scooby-Doo character spin-off, and it were just some original show, and people were going, what? An Indian solving mysteries? That'll never happen. I get it. And you'd be 100% right. But that did not happen. So, and I'm hearing a lot of people kind of agree and have those same type of rhetoric where it's like, oh, well, for some reason, a person of color can't be a nerd. It's like, stop. Don't gaslight. And don't have like fake arguments that don't exist and try to make the person who has a complaint about the character simply not resembling what they've looked like for 50 years. Something like that. I think it's been around since like the 70s, right? And in all the various iterations, she's not been that. Now, do you think people wouldn't complain if, let's just say, she was blonde and didn't have glasses and had a whole different like outfit, and they were like, oh yeah, that's Velma? People would still be upset. You know how I know? Because as a person who reads tons of comics, when they change the costume of a character who had a certain costume for years, people get pretty upset too. Like, it has to be pretty damn good. But if a person has like an iconic costume and you just change it, it happens because some artists want their costume to become the new iconic costume. Doesn't fly over well. So sometimes they'll just do a brief little change, not brief, a minute change to an already iconic costume. You'll see it with Spider-Man, you'll see it with like Superman, but it'll still 90% look like what it's supposed to. But if you change the colors and change the scheme and design, people usually reject it. Or even if the character, say, has some type of mantle, right? And it's still, and the person is replaced by someone of the same race, doesn't have to be a different race, even the same race, i.e. Ben Reilly, Peter Parker, various Flashes, things like that, people complain. The issue is people try to conflate it and make it seem like people only complain when it's a race change. That's not true. When people are used to something visually, a lot of times they are expecting that same thing. And I think that is the case here. And I don't understand all this energy going into a spin-off about Velma. Why couldn't that same energy go into an Indian character who solves mysteries? Why did it have to be Velma? Because this is pretty much, it's focusing on her, not necessarily Scooby-Doo and the rest of them. So why couldn't this happen? This is a question not only must ask the creator, but the studios. Because the studios seem to not have enough faith in an original Indian character to lead a show. Maybe we should ask that question. Or maybe they did want to, and they were like, the creator was like, no, I think it's gonna be easier for me just to commandeer the popularity of another existing character rather than put the creative grit behind a brand new character and make something iconic on my own. Or perhaps maybe you just shouldn't worry about trying to make something iconic and just make a really, really good story. Because I don't think the people who made Scooby-Doo and a lot of these things that became iconic, their mind frame behind it wasn't, I want this to be iconic. I think they just made something interesting, it caught on, and it just became that way. So I think we have to be genuine when we're having conversations and listening to the feedback of other people and not just trying to make them seem like they're bigoted or racist. Because I'm looking at it and people are literally just saying, just does not look like Velma. And people are saying, oh, they just can't see an Indian being smart. That's a huge leap, and it's not a genuine conversation. And if we just have more original characters than this type of stuff, wouldn't that have a bigger effect? Because if this show fails, the studios would just be like, well, I guess we can't have this type of character. We can't. They won't say that it failed because it was corny. They'll say it failed because there was an Indian person in the role. And then what are they going to do? They're going to go right back. Even if it was a success, they're going to go right back to the regular Scooby-Doo stuff, and they're going to show a Velma that doesn't look like that. That's what they're going to do, because what most people are familiar with. It is what it is. But that's really it. I just hope we have better conversations about stuff like that, and people just be really genuine about the criticisms that are happening, because this is happening more than what I'm hearing. This is also happening with like the Percy Jackson stuff, you know, them changing the character Annabeth, and them also trying to make people who are criticizing the change because, you know, that character was also described a certain way in the books, and then now they're casting someone who does not fit the description for which they've been reading, and then people go, oh, well, they must be racist for pointing that out. Is that a thing? I mean, is that a thing, but like, is that what's happening? Are we really listening to that, or are we just projecting so we can invalidate the arguments of people rather than just being truthful? Like, you're taking the leftover scraps of a character, and rather than just make an original character of whatever background you want, you'd rather just make this weird secondhand version of an already existing white character, because normally where it comes from. So apparently you only see the value in the white characters and not your own. So maybe you have a bit of an issue? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let me know, do you agree with this type of thing? Do you not? If so, let's just have that conversation. Into the nerd.